So are you ready to PR yourself? We'll remove the mystery from all things PR, and we'll discuss everything from our top strategies to tips and tricks and everything that you can utilize to further enhance your brand or your message. I've been in media, I'm a journalist, and I'm also a publicist. I am Leah Frazier, CEO of Think3 Media, and your host for PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. Let's go. And welcome back to another episode of PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. I am your host, Leah Frazier, the CEO of Think3 Media based out of Dallas, Texas. And we are back with what I want to think of as a bonus episode because your girl smartened up. Okay. And here's how. I was helping out with Dallas Startup Week, which is every year we have a week that's totally dedicated to entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs. There's different tracks that you can attend for marketing, for sales, there's pitch competitions. There's a day totally dedicated to women of innovation. There's keynote speakers that are the top in entrepreneurship, blah, 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 right? And oh, by the way, it's presented by Capital One and it's entirely free. So there is no excuse why, if you're an entrepreneur or a founder or a small business owner, where you can't show up to some of these sessions and get some inspiration, some motivation, whatever it is that you need. So, and I've been involved this was the 10-year anniversary. I've been involved with Dallas Startup Week since day one. I started out as a speaker that first year. And then the next year, was offered a track. I think I started the fashion track. I led that probably for about 3 or 4 years and then moved up into leadership. And now they just use and abuse me however they want. Like, Leah, can you make this phone call? Leah, can you do this? Leah, can you be on this committee and that committee? But I do it because I love it. And I do it because the information is so incredibly valuable. I'm going to apologize ahead of time if you guys hear there's doing a lot of repairs over here where I live. All of us are getting a ton of repairs this week. So if you hear some buzzing or some drills in the background, that's what it is. But anyways, so Dallas Startup Week, huge event in Dallas for entrepreneurs and founders. And this year I was on the Women of Innovation Committee and we were thinking about keynote speakers and throwing around some names. And in my spirit, I felt led that we don't need another person talking to us about how they've made millions or how they've had billions and they're doing this contract and that contract and blah, blah, blah. We have enough of that on podcasts. We have enough of that, in all the different brunches and panels and things that go around in city after city year round. I really felt like this year was more about heart, and it's more about our well-being, our self-care. Where are we mentally as entrepreneurs? Where do we find inspiration? And so I am obsessed. Anybody that knows me, I'm obsessed with an author. Her name is Brianna Wiest, and part-time I work in wellness. And so I teach meditation and mindfulness. And at one of the studios that I teach at, shout out to Breathe Meditation and Wellness in Dallas, we sell all of Brianna's books. And I remember the first time, I believe the first book I bought of Brianna's was The Mountain Is You, which ended up being one of her most popular books. I wasn't aware at the time. And then I bought 101 Essays to Make You Think. And then I bought This Is How You Heal. And then I bought The Pivot Year. And then this year she just came out with The Life That's Waiting. And I have pretty much all of her books. But anyways, it's the type of reading where you don't need to read the whole book all in one sitting or have this goal that I'm going to finish this book. It really is these bite-sized nuggets of inspiration where you only need that bite and it feeds your entire soul. Her writing makes you feel seen. It makes you know that you're not crazy. We're all going through these same things, but it also gives you that kind of like, it's almost like that squeeze and that hug around the heart and around the soul to let you know, like, you've got this, you're on the right track. And in my opinion, I believe that that's what entrepreneurs needed or need. And the committee said, go for it. If you can get her here, let's go. Gave me the budget, and we made it happen. I had met Brianna when she came to Dallas for her book signing for The Life That's Waiting. I reached out to her team, like, gotta get you on Good Morning Texas. And she came on Good Morning Texas, and she said it was one of her favorite interviews. So shout out to Erin Hunter, who's the host of Good Morning Texas. She did an amazing job. And I met Brianna at the station. I brought all my books. She signed all my books. We took pictures. She was super duper sweet. And she said some things to me privately, just about me as a wellness practitioner, that really just touched my soul. And I was like, girl, we gonna be friends. And so her team they were super duper sweet. And I went to her signing that night, brought a couple of friends, and it was just like seeing an old girlfriend. Like, she's so freaking down to earth. And the line for her book signing was literally wrapped around the building. There was people stopping in the middle of the street, because we were in Bishop Arts. If you're from Dallas, you know where that is. And there was people stopping in the middle of the street like, who is here? Like, because it was like they knew somebody was in town, and they knew it was a celebrity because the line was literally wrapped around the building, and it was all for Brianna. And the stories that I got to hear as I waited in line of how many lives she's touched, how many people she's helped to pull them out of a funk, the creativity that's birthed inside of folks from her writing, from being seen, is just amazing and astronomical. So here's what happened. As soon as I got the go ahead, I reached out to Brianna's team, and I was like, hey, would love to have her come and keynote our Women of Innovation Summit at Dallas Startup Week. Her publicist immediately writes back, she's free, let's do it. So work out all the, the logistics, the contract, all that, blah, blah, blah. So I reached back out, and I'm just like, hey, so what is she more comfortable with? Is she more comfortable with keynoting where she leads everything, with a pointer and a clicker and giving a presentation? Or does she just want to straight talk to the audience? Because we've got an hour here, like, what would she want to do? Or does she want to do it fireside chat style? Now, I will let you know, I did throw that in there hoping that she would choose the fireside chat, because guess who's going to moderate the fireside chat? You're damn right. It was going to be me, because when I lead and I moderate, I really try to make it as conversational as possible. But I felt like from Brianna's visit here in Dallas that we had that like very relaxed, relatable, homegirl kind of vibe between us that I felt like would translate to the audience, especially it being Women of Innovation Day, and it's going to be a room full of women. And that's the vibe. You didn't want the stuffy, I'm an entrepreneur and listen to me because I make millions of dollars and I'm going to tell you how. No, we really needed that soul check. Like, what are you doing this for? When all the money dries up, where are you drawing your inspiration from? Will you tap into that inner part of you that knows that it knows that it knows that you are the shit and you are meant to do exactly what you are here to do? The resources will come. You will attract that of what you focus on, that type of speaking, right? And so, of course, her publicist writes back and says she would prefer the moderated chat. I said, hey, it's going to be me. I let the team know it's definitely going to be me. And there you have it. So leading up to Startup Week, I reached out to my videographer and I said, hey, I really need you to come film this keynote. It's with my favorite author, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought to self, get the audio. Give this exclusively to your PR yourself listeners in audio. And so today, that is what you're going to be listening to. You are going to hear the keynote from Dallas Startup Week, myself with Brianna Wiest, and it is absolutely amazing. I'm still getting DMs from folks who attended. There were some parts where there were some tears in the room. You're going to hear some of the feedback towards the end from some of the attendees and how it's touched them. And you're going to be invited into that space with us today. So that is our journey for today. But, just as we focus on our inner as entrepreneurs, because that is just as important as anything else, we definitely still need to be focused on other ways of staying not just mentally healthy, but staying healthy in all of our other ways. I told you guys last episode that I am really on this health journey. Like, I really am not only getting my Brianna Wiest on to strengthen my mind, but I'm also trying to strengthen everything else about myself physically, and also making sure that I'm taking care of myself internally. So that's why I want you guys to take a look at Balance of Nature. I have been taking their supplements these last couple of months, and I want to tell you, it is awesome, especially if you're a person on the go. So we're talking about Dallas Startup Week. We're talking about entrepreneurs. You go, 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 go. You're probably not getting all of your fruits and veggies you're supposed to be eating every day. I know I wasn't, even though I was trying to. So what I love about Balance of Nature is that they have these supplements, fruits and veggies, that includes 16 whole fruits if you're taking the fruit supplements, and 15 whole vegetables if you're taking the veggie supplements. You take it every single day, and you're going to be getting ingredients like mango, pineapple, blueberries, banana, shiitake mushrooms, wheatgrass, spinach, kale, all the stuff you know you need, you're just not giving to yourself. And they have a fiber and spice supplement that you can just put in your water and drink while you're on the go. And that features 4 whole fibers. It has flaxseed, whole apple, monk fruit, psyllium husk, and also 12 aromatic spices such as your cinnamon, turmeric, which I love turmeric, fenugreek, and cardamom. So definitely want to take your time and check out Balance of Nature's, not only their fiber and spice, but their fruits and veggie supplements, especially if you know that you're part of the 90% of Americans that do not meet their recommended intake of dietary fiber per day. And just know that when you're taking these supplements, it's just a real convenient way. With me, I wake up, I take it in the morning with my water, I get it out of the way, and then I do the fiber and spice in my water, and I drink it throughout the day, just so I can get that wide array of the 47 fruits, vegetables, spice, and fibers into my daily diet. Okay, guys. So I want you to check it out. As listeners of PR Yourself with Leah Frazier, you can go to balanceofnature.com and use the code PR Yourself, all caps, to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer, plus get a free bottle of that fiber and spice that I've been talking about. Again, you're going to go to balanceofnature.com. You're going to use the code PR Yourself, all caps, to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer, plus get a free bottle of the fiber and spice. I will put all of this in the show notes if you want to check it out there. But hey, check it out. The supplements are vegan, they are kosher, and they are gluten-free. We know what you put in your body matters, and it matters to me, and it matters to my Balance of Nature team as well. So check it out. Once again, balanceofnature.com. Use that code PR Yourself. Get 35% off your first order and get a free bottle of fiber and spice. All right. And so when we come back from our quick break, it's going to be me. It's going to be Brianna Wiest. You guys are going to be getting your Balance of Nature supplements to get your physical and internal together. And now we're going to focus on our minds. But before we go to the break, let me tell you a little bit about Brianna and why you're going to want to stay locked in, because this girl is bad. All right. So Brianna Wiest is the author of the books 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think, The Mountain Is You, When You're Ready, This Is How You Heal, I Am the Hero of My Own Life, Saltwater Ceremony, The Pivot Year, 101 Quotes That Will Change the Way You Think, The Life That's Waiting, and Great Callings, which will be out October 2025. Her books have sold millions of copies, regularly appearing on global bestseller lists, has ranked number 1 on audiobook charts, and is being translated into 40 plus languages. You may have seen Brianna on the Today Show, Forbes, Parade, Psychology Today, Oprah Daily, Selena Gomez's Wonder Mind, Rick Rubin's Tetragrammaton, and the covers of Brains and Gossip Magazine. Harper's Bazaar, Inc., Success, and Yoga Journal have all listed Brianna's books among their top choices for personal development. And Women.com named The Pivot Year one of the best books of the 2020s. Brianna's books have also ranked among the top annual checkouts at public libraries in New York and beyond. She received her honorary doctorate in literature from Elizabethtown College after delivering the commencement address in 2024 and has completed tours in the United States, Germany, and Canada. Originally from Long Island, New York, Brianna lives in California with her fiance and their cat. She travels to visit, like she did in Dallas, and speak at bookstores, businesses, and conferences worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, when you return back from the break, it will be me and it will be Brianna Wiest. Keep it locked in.
This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. How do funded startup founders attract prospects and talent? Podcast interviews. How do entrepreneurs with exits find new deals? Podcast interviews. How do C-suite execs differentiate in crowded markets? Podcast interviews. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. Click the link in the show notes for a special offer. Celebrate good conversation.
Dallas, Brianna.
Back to Dallas. This is the second time this year. And in the past 2 or 3, I'm not even just saying this, I promise I'm being sincere. In the past 2 or 3 years of my life, I've probably seen, probably almost every city in the country, and Dallas has blown me away.
Was it the food or the people?
Everything.
We're always talking about food.
Everything. I was so excited to come back. Because, there's some cities that you're like, okay, like it is what you expect, or there's others that's maybe not as great as you thought it would be. Dallas blew my mind. I've had such incredible times here, and I'm so happy to be back. You all live here, yeah? Yeah, you're all, well, I don't know, people travel or everything. Lucky. Okay, well, so
lucky. What do you like most about Dallas? Tell us some of the things. Because you were here for your book signing for The Life That's Waiting. That's the latest book that was just released.
Yeah.
And you traveled to Bishop Arts.
Yeah.
And the line was around the building. And there was people that actually went in and bought the book just because they saw the line around the building. They didn't know who you were. They're like, she must be famous. We're going to go in and buy it anyways.
I think like the people, like even in that signing line, it was like the most polite, gracious, but like on it human beings I'd ever met. I was like, yes.
Well, welcome back to Dallas. I'm so excited to have you here. This is our Women of Innovation Summit. Another shout out to Mary Kay for sponsoring this incredible day. And just to have a conversation about everything from how we can tap into our future selves in order to be the absolute best women entrepreneurs that we can be, and any other personal development you wish to impart to us today. But just in case there's some folks here in the building that aren't aware of you, your journey, what you've authored, let's just talk a little bit about how we got here I have a whole stack, y'all. So if y'all didn't come prepared for Brianna like me, this is just 3 here. We got what else we got?
She's got
3 more. I got the stack. All of Brianna's books. But tell us, how did we get to all of this?
All that, yeah. So I've been doing this for 13, 14 years now. And I was a journalist by trade. That's my profession of what I thought I would do for the rest of my life. And I wrote articles, I wrote entertainment. My fun fact icebreaker is, do you know the TV show Riverdale? Okay, if you go to the last episode, first season, I'm an extra sitting next to Luke Perry because I went to the set to interview them for Teen Vogue, which I know it's like a funny jump from there to here. So that's always my icebreaker fun fact, that I'm sitting there like nervous. I'm just like nodding, like looking right at the camera because I don't know what I'm doing. They're like, hey, don't look at it. And TLDR, I've been on a personal growth journey since I was pretty young. And something I like to say a lot is I remember who I am, but also what we all are, just a little earlier than I think some people do. And throughout that time, I was, writing my essays, my poetry. It was just really kind of my own personal practice. It was my deepest meditative practice, and I would put it online. And, some people would read it, but it wasn't all this. It took years and years and years of, I think people coming around to their own journey and coming around to their own selves when they found me. And one book after the next, eventually, it kind of hit a tipping point. And then my whole life changed. And then this became my entire life. But it wasn't for it took 7 years after, I think, 100 essays. It's, well, my one book, it's a big book of essays. 7 years of just holding the faith and sticking with it before I was a bestseller for a long time.
So what do you say for people here they've started a business, they're putting their all into it just like you did, you're writing books. I know how arduous that process can be, especially if you're having an answer to a publisher or something like that, and they're grinding and they just don't feel like that door is going to open for them. And they're putting all of their hard work and finances into this very thing. What kept you going? Was there a shift in the mindset? What was that thing for you that kept you writing and writing, even during the times that maybe no one was reading?
You have to hold the torch yourself for longer than you think you do. You're going to have to be the one who believes in it, even if nobody else does. And to me, that's the bridge between where you're at and anywhere you want to go. And I think that it can be very disappointing when you think, you will find that support sooner than you do. But the only thing that kept me going was that this was my true love, my true passion. I've always said writing is one of the great loves of my life. And what kept me going was that what it gave to me intrinsically, whether nobody else read it, that it was so meaningful to me just to do it. That is what kept me going through those valleys in those seasons. It was everywhere. It was lacquered and deluged, but it wasn't though, because it was, I have this memory that I share often, which is that I have a book called The Mountain Is You. And if you haven't,
If you had it, put it in there.
If you're looking for a read, it's about self-sabotage, and you might be interested in this book. It's my favorite book. And the idea came to me, and I was pretty young when it did. And I remember I was at a coffee shop with my best friend, and I was I was leaning over the table, and I was like, it's called The Mountain Is You, and it's one of the best-selling books in the world. I'm absolutely sure. And she was like, okay, I'm going to have a coffee first. What are you? She's like, it sounds great, but calm down. And I couldn't even probably fully put words to what that experience was, only that I really felt like this was something that the world wanted, and I felt like I volunteered to be the one to bring it through. And I thought that I was a good candidate because I was so self-sabotaging. I was like, oh, I could definitely write about this. But for all of that time, even when we were designing the book cover, and this is, I think, a unique experience as well, it was almost like I knew what the cover looked like, and I was telling my book designer, I think there's 36 or 37 final files of the last cover image where I was like, move the mountain over one pica. And I'm just getting it just right. But, and she, talked to me about that later on. She was like, you have this interesting thing that's different than some other authors I've worked with where, we kind of piece it together and feel it out and find something that works. She's like, but the way that you communicate with me, it all seems like you already know what the cover looks like and you're just trying to get me to be able to mimic it. I said, that's exactly what I'm doing. She's like, it's weird, but I guess it works. But to me, that's also about holding that torch and having that clarity of vision. And then I think you'll also find more support than you think, even like in the masses. You know what I mean? I had so many friends and family who were like, you know what, you want to be a writer, girl, you do it. Maybe. You can try.
Were, were they there in the beginning, or did it take them quite some time to try to get on board? Because for some entrepreneurs, especially if you are full time, let's say you're full time and then you're entrepreneurial, full time corporate, or in your 9 to 5, and somewhere along the line you start a business and maybe it's unrelated, and like you said, there's that delusion. They're like, we're going to support you, but what are you doing? And a lot of people have that story, so the support doesn't come until later on, and sometimes it doesn't come at all. They just have to find something internally within to keep pushing. So when did that happen for you, or what does that support look like?
I think for everyone, it's a process of, at the beginning, I think people who love you will, tell you that they support you and really hope the best for you. But ultimately, they're going to be waiting to see how much you mean it. And I think when they start to realize you mean it and you are serious and you are not giving up, their belief starts to shift too. And it starts to move from just, I wish you the best to I see what you're doing. There's a quote by, I believe, Alex Hormozy, and he says, confidence is not shouting affirmations in the mirror. It's having a mountain of evidence that you are who you say you are. And that was something that helped me tremendously bridge that gap from beginning of I want to be an author to I'm showing up every day. I'm giving this everything I've got. I'm working, all day, what's paying the bills. And then I take a break and then I'm right back in this at night. And, I had this big stretch of my life in my 20s where, my friends were going out and other people were, I think doing things that were probably more age appropriate. And I was willing to miss out on those things to devote myself to this. And I think that was also when people around me started to say, oh, she means it. Like it's not just talking about it. And I would also say, don't talk about it. It's the 16th law of power, and it's one that I abide by strongly. I think it also lends itself to something called the law of gestation, which is that when you put a seed into the ground, you can't keep digging it up to check on it. You need to let it be. And then also sharing ideas with people prematurely. Even if they have the best intention for you, I think sometimes they can offer their opinion in a way that really gets in your own head in a way that's unhelpful. And I think also, in a worst case scenario, if there are people who are envious or who don't want to see you change, or it brings up questions in themselves to see you change, it's really important that you protect, those little sprouts in your life. It's important that you protect your ideas and protect your momentum, and then know when to share it and with whom to share it, and be really clear, like who is on my team, who is for me, and I am for them. And you'll know. And it's that, I think, is a really important part of being able to hold the torch too.
I'm over here smiling because all the time you'll see on social media where people are like, you need to learn to move in silence. And then the next post is them posting all the things that they're doing. And I'm like, there wasn't anything silent about that, or dropping teasers of their next venture or whatever it is they're about to launch. And I'm like, that's not very silent. Especially like you said, if you have something you're holding dear to your heart and not wanting other people to project onto you. And I learned in my journey that a lot of that too, sometimes it doesn't have to be the negative thing. It could be out of love. Mm-hmm. So for my family, I was one of the first entrepreneurs. So it was more of just out of this fear of like, we don't want you to fail and like be broke or homeless on the street. Sure. Like that was the fear. And so, like you said, just learning to protect yourself and build a network like the deck. You're welcome, the deck, that can support you on your entrepreneurial journey. As you were writing and you were kind of getting the mountain is you out and being very particular about this cover, at what point did you realize you really had a gift? Oh. Seriously, because you can have talents, but that doesn't mean that the talent is the gift.
That's a really kind question. Thank you. I don't know. I don't even know that I even currently know that I have a gift, but I'll take your word for it.
I mean, think about it.
Right.
Like you're writing, you're writing and writing and writing. At what point was there a pivotal moment where things just took off, and then you realize the impact? Because you, like you were saying, I may not have had but 100 people read the blog, and now you have millions and millions and millions of sold copies around the world. There's a gift within that.
Thank you. I think at the beginning, it was that it felt so special for me that the feeling that I was at, the experience that I was having, signaled to me that this was meant to be a very special part of my life and a big part of my life. But that point at which it's, starting to reach people and you're realizing impact, that's been one of the most surreal things to even express. I mean, it's not the messages that I get even, or that I get them every day, but the people that I've met from all over the world, people I have literally nothing in common with, who tell me stories about the things they did or the things they changed or the things they overcame because of these books. And it blows my mind. There's also something to be said about how art is very much an ink blot test. Because there are a lot of people that'll say, well, like, this is what I took from the book. And I'm like, I wasn't thinking that at all when I wrote it. But that's fine. That's great that that's your experience with it. I enjoy hearing, it, what they saw within it. Because I think in a lot of ways it's a mirror and they're seeing something in themselves. I just recently, like this week, someone emailed me from a correctional facility that they were using the Mountain Zoo. And they made a PowerPoint for, I think it was a men's facility. And they asked if I would send signed books to some of them who were really working hard. I was like, of course. But also, what? Like that was not even the first time I'd heard from a few. There's a women's facility. I forget what state it was in. But one woman had a copy of The Mountain Zoo and they were forming their own book club with it. So I sent them all books and they sent me a picture of, I don't know, there was like 50 of them all holding the book in there. And I thought, wow, like if, I don't know where you are all at in your lives, and I'm not kidding you. If someone like me could do something like that, I'm serious, you can do anything. Like it's beyond what you can even comprehend. And this is a funny connection, but my friend, you know Questlove? He's a friend of mine, and
he likes all your posts, by the way.
We're friends.
I'm like, is he obsessed with Brianna, or like, why did he likes every single last one of your posts?
Supportive friend. And he replied because I posted about that, and he was like, really think about that. Really think about this. In one moment of you following that truth inside you, look to where it led. But the origin of this experience was just you having an idea and following through, and how small that can be, and how much we overlook that, and how much we underestimate the impact and the ripple effect and the butterfly effect, whatever you want to call it, that we can have. And I think that sometimes in the book I talk about, people are always looking for breakthroughs, and what they really need is a micro shift. But I think that's true in so many things in life, where you're looking for the big and not realizing it begins in those very, very, very small ways. I think ways that often we overlook completely or like write off and think they're insignificant. I don't even remember what the question was. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It kind of makes me think of just being present in the moment and being present for all of it, which is oftentimes very hard to do as a person in business in general. We're always striving, or there's always a next. And so just being present and receiving what Questlove said, or I don't know if you took a step back just to process the women in the facility, reading your book or forming the book club, or those small little moments. I think it helps you to appreciate the journey when you're not so focused on the future. I don't know if that's had an impact in your journey at all.
Yeah, it has. And I try to make time for it each day just to receive. I think that was hard for me for a long time too, where I felt like unworthy. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't good enough to have like positive feedback or to think I made an impact. And it was kind of this feeling, well, who am I? It's like, well, who aren't I? Why not me? And I think about something that got me over it. Do any of you struggle with like imposter syndrome? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Something that got me over it was I would think about a lot of the authors and people that I looked up to. And I thought to myself, well, who were they before I came to know them for what they did? And I didn't have an answer. They were just someone that had an idea, stayed consistent, and followed through and showed up and did it. And when that clicked for me, I thought, wow, I maybe it could be me too. But honestly, it's a touch and go. I still every day I'm like, are you sure? I just want to find someone else.
But as you moved along in your journey, you kept authoring books, getting stories such as these, hearing feedback from different people. Have you ever been afraid of your own success? Or have you ever self-sabotaged yourself on your way to success? And how did you work through that?
To me, the most challenging thing about self-sabotage is even realizing that you're doing it in the first place. It's reconciling this idea that seems so impossible, which is, could I be uncomfortable with my life going better than I'm used to it going? Could I be uncomfortable with being more loved than I felt before? Could I be uncomfortable with things being good? And the answer is yes. In the book, I talk about Gay Hendricks. He has a book called The Big Leap. If you haven't read it, please read it. Order it right now. I'm so serious. The Big Leap. He talks about upper limits. And essentially, an upper limit is the unconscious amount of good feeling your body has a tolerance for. And when your life, your body surpasses your upper limit, it unconsciously self-sabotages to bring you back to your baseline, to bring you back into your comfort zone, which is from that, what I always say is anything new, no matter how good, will be uncomfortable until it is also familiar. I'm going to say that one more time because it's really important. Anything new, no matter how good, is uncomfortable until it is also familiar. If it's not familiar, it's going to feel uncomfortable, even if it is the best possible thing for you. And I think that something that's so critical on anyone's, not even growth journey, but life journey, is to understand that you become what you let yourself get used to. And then when you start to make a conscious choice of, what you're going to familiarize yourself with, what you're going to continue showing up for, what you're going to make normal to you, and creates these big shifts in your life because you start defaulting to that. What does it look like if your default and your comfort zone is success? What would that be like? And I think it would defy your past concepts of yourself. And I think it would defy your past concepts of possibility in really profound ways.
And I'm glad we're segueing into one of my favorite topics.
I was just about to say, into your favorite thing.
It's like my favorite thing is talking about our future self. And so one of my favorites, Joe Dispenza, talks a lot about it. And I will just listen to it on repeat in the car about aligning ourselves with who we want to be. And then he talks about the neurology behind it, the brain and the subconscious, and how eventually you align yourself with how you're envisioning you want to be. And then everything, you're like a magnet. You start attracting the resources and you start to morph into that person you're visualizing. I want to talk a little bit about the future self. You just held a amazing workshop that I had to leave early, but I was there for the first day. I got what I needed. In Rhinebeck, New York, in the middle of the woods where there was no Wi-Fi. And it was hot. And the workshop was called Letters to Our Future Selves. And talk to us a little bit about the practice itself. And then we're actually going to walk you guys through it in just a second. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's visualizing, connecting not just to the concept of your future self, but understanding that there are infinite potentials for what that future self might be and look like. And I think that something that could be really productive is coming up with an idea of them that is so strong and so clear to you that you're almost seeking counsel from them and being guided from them. And I think that, in some ways, your highest potential future self would surprise you. think there are some things that you would expect, and others you would think, wow, I didn't quite imagine that for myself. But I think that something more powerful than me telling you, the future, what is that quote? The future could be better than the past. You have the power to make it so. More powerful than that is you imagining or coming up with the image of what that looks like for you, because it's you telling yourself. Should we just do it?
Yeah, let's just do it.
Let's just do it.
Let's do it. Y'all want to do it?
You want to do it?
Y'all want to try to envision your future self? Mine ended up being a badass. She was snatched, so I got to get with Chef Faulkner. Waistline was real slim and tight. She was bedazzled from head to toe. And I got out of it and I was like, who is this person? But she was amazing. So I now answer like, what would my future self say? And then sometimes it's like, hell no. I love her.
About the outfit, Morda.
The outfit. Yes. Please do more than just envision fashion.
Oh, yeah. It's more than that, but that's a part of it. So could I get you all to close your eyes for a minute? You don't have to. It's just an invitation. Okay, we're all in. Okay, so we're just going to go through a pretty brief meditation, and I want you to take this home and practice this on your own, but just kind of let this set the foundation. So I want you to imagine that you're walking in your favorite natural environment, your favorite beach, your favorite field, the backyard of somewhere you loved in childhood. Anything like that, somewhere that's really meaningful to you and very beautiful. Just imagine yourself standing there. Okay. And now I want you to imagine that you see a staircase. It's a white staircase. I want you to imagine that you decide to walk up the staircase. I want you to imagine that at the end of the staircase, there are two doors, one to the left and one to the right. Now I want you to imagine that you walk into the room on the left. Inside this room, it's empty, other than two chairs that are facing one another in the center. And I want you to go and have a seat in one of them. I want you to imagine that you're going to invite a visitor. And the person you're going to invite is your future self if nothing changes. Your future self if you stay as you are right now. I want you to imagine that person walking through the door and sitting across from you. And I want you to really note, what do they look like, what they feel like, what are they wearing. Ask them questions, inquire. How are you doing? What are you up to? What does your life look like? Now I want you to imagine standing up and giving that version of yourself a hug and seeing them to the door. And now I want you to imagine leaving the first room and walking across the hallway to the room on the right. And imagine opening that door. Inside that room, it looks just like the first room. It's empty, other than two chairs in the center that are facing one another. And I want you to have a seat again and know that you're going to invite a different visitor. I want you to invite your highest potential future self to join you in the room. This can be you at any age. Invite your highest potential future self to come and sit across from you. and do the same thing you did the first time. Take note of how they feel. What are they wearing? What do they look like? What are they up to? What is their life like? But most importantly, what do they need to tell you? What do they need you to know right now? Knowing that you always have access to this higher wisdom and to this version of yourself. I want you to stand up and give them a hug. And I want you to imagine that you don't let go of the hug, but you actually merge with them. And when you open your eyes, you look down and you're wearing what they were wearing, and you are them. You're embodying them. And I want you to imagine that you leave that room and you walk back down the stairs and you walk through your favorite place on earth once again. And then you open your eyes and you're back in Dallas. And you're listening to Leah and Brianna talk. And we've got a lot of highest potential future selves in the room now. How do y'all feel?
I see the little wiping of some tears.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out to the audience, like, how did that practice feel for some of you? And if you have to journal, please do, because I don't remember everything. Yes, in the maroon.
I couldn't do.
It's okay. People will tell me sometimes. Is they'll see something scary. They'll see a version of themselves that's like suffering in some way. They're like, is this my future? No, that's fear. That's just fear. So we can just acknowledge that as that's fear coming up and coloring this experience, and we can let that go.
Anybody else in the back?
I was able to visualize and was able to get like 3 good nuggets about my future self, saying, be patient, it's okay, you will get there. So just, it's a journey, don't rush it. And it was just so magical to have that affirmation that it's okay where you are and you'll get there eventually.
That's actually a great question. Were there any tidbits from the future selves that really moved you in the audience? Something like that? Yeah.
So I didn't really ask her any questions. I think it was more so the hug for me.
Oh,
The embrace, just feeling the softness
Yeah.
of her embrace, and myself always feeling rigid. Worrying about what is my next invoice going to be paid. She's like, girl, we good.
yay!
Yes. So you feel a rigidity, and then she felt soft. And it was the feeling, not her saying anything, that felt.
It made me feel at ease.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Good.
I would say that, first of all, that was very profound. And I felt and I saw a sense of elegance. I felt someone who smelled amazing. Like, perfume was on. It was like a sense of a regal presence that was a person who felt comfortable with delegating and creating systems, and it gave her a softness that was just, it felt as if the wisdom and the clarity, everything from her presence was just very warm.
Love that. Thank you. And we'll do 2 more. We'll do here and then here.
So I think for me, I just launched my business, and I'm in that very new struggling, like, that imposter syndrome that I remember why I launched it, but I'm also like, how am I going to eat? And how am I going to survive and then also thrive the way that I want to? So for me, I came here today for this specifically, but I came earlier to catch all the incredible people. And I feel like I was searching for someone to say something that stuck with me to keep going. And I think that this Sorry. I'm getting emotional.
It's okay. It's okay.
For me, it was the reminder that I'm the one I should be taking advice from.
That's amazing.
It's because I started this for a reason.
Yeah.
And fuck, she's there. Like, listen
Yeah.
to her, you know? So.
Thank you. No, thank you for sharing.
Yes. That is what it is all about. You started because there was something in you that knew and still knows, and she knows the way, right? And that journey is actually that you reconnecting to that person inside you.
And I think the practice itself is so important because we do have so many distractions that take us away from ourselves that we seek outside counsel in so many different spaces. Where right now, Brianna did that for like 3 minutes, but just even in that 3 minutes of being still, it brought you back to yourself. And then, like you said, the thing inside, the knowing that knows that it knows that it knows, and it always knows.
Yes.
So I think that's really beautiful that you had that.
I just want to also add, I did it quickly, just in the interest of time and how much time we have together today, but I would normally do it for longer. And also, please feel free to take creative liberty and expand upon whatever practice works for you. You can use the concept, but, work with it, so it suits you. And I think I should also probably say, I do this all the time, and my future self has evolved. And I've seen myself at different phases in my life. And I think each served a purpose and was a reason for that moment. But she's evolved other than my 90-year-old self. She stayed the same. To me, that's me reminding myself, many paths, same destination. It's okay. You can pick which one you want. So I feel like, sorry.
No, you're good.
But a lot of the time when we kind of use, any kind of creative practice, something that comes up for people a lot is they want to bring like rules to it. Like, did I do it right? Did I do it enough? And what if for a minute you have the courage to let go of that and say, no rules, no right, no wrong, no winning, no losing, just how can this support you and bring you back to you, and whatever route you take to get there, great. But I want to challenge you all tonight, this weekend, to return to that place and spend a lot more time with yourself there, that deep meditative place where you're connecting to, the future possibilities, because ultimately you're visualizing the future, sure, but you're pulling from your subconscious mind. You're pulling from what you don't know you already know. And it's a powerful place, and it's where all of the answers are going to come from. That's what people say. It's exactly what you're saying. You already know. You really do. But it's just about what is the practice that gets you back to that knowing space.
I love that. And you're our last one.
Yes, so I loved that. That I started with on a beach with my hair blowing. I could smell the ocean, the stairwells that I was on the stairs in a room, and it was the compare and contrast of asking if I don't do anything differently, where that's gonna choke you. If I don't do anything differently, where am I gonna be? And I'm still going to be exactly where I am today. So it was the contrast of what can my future self be? And when she walked into the room, she was in white, like just a white power suit with her hair and her makeup and her black pointy shoes. And she sat there with me holding space for a minute. We didn't say anything. And then she says to me, see, you're still serving, and you got to where you are now by doing what you love to do, and that's serve others. And I just found that really profound, that because sometimes today I don't feel like that my service mindset is going to get me to that staircase on the right in a room, and the room was on a yacht.
Yes.
Wow.
Now we're talking. Was it a Jet 2 holiday?
Nobody's ever told me the room has been on a yacht, and you think
This is a
whatever
first.
you're doing now is not going to get you to the right room. You're on your way. You're on your way.
Now you can answer from your future self. Like, is this going to get me to that yacht?
I think that's
If it's
it.
a no, we're going to keep it pushing. But I think that's a good segue. We have this version of our future selves as women entrepreneurs, leaders. How are we nurturing that? What do we do with this now that we've seen her, we've felt her, we've seen the regalness or the elegance, or we on a yacht, y'all. Don't forget about all of us when that happens, by the way. So how are we nurturing this and using this as practice within our lives and in our entrepreneurial journeys?
So there's two things that I like to do, and obviously it's, unique to each one of us. So, take it if it resonates and leave it if it doesn't. But the two things I like to do is scripting and somatic experiencing. I wouldn't put these under my self-care umbrella. This is kind of more my self-growth umbrella. It's kind of a different toolkit. And in scripting, I write in a journal every day, and I start with one of two phrases. I say, thank you, thank you, thank you for resolution. Thank you, thank you, thank you for showing me the way. Whatever I'm actually feeling I'm in lack of, I express gratitude for having. I just kind of flip it. And what's amazing to me is the answers that come through me as soon as I start like that. Or I will start by saying, I am so happy and grateful. And to me, it's also about conditioning your mind in the same way that you would condition the body. It's neurons that fire together, wire together. And when you start consistently focusing on what you're grateful for, gratitude turns what we have into enough. And when you start thinking that way, when you start becoming solution oriented, when you start becoming more confident, answers are coming out of every corner, everywhere, all the time. Things to be grateful for, how enough you are and how much you have, it starts to overwhelm you because it's everywhere. It was just about you orienting yourself to see what was already in the room. And when I write like that, the things that come through me surprise me by the end of the page. If I just say, sometimes all I have is thank you, thank you, thank you. I have a bed at night. I have food in my fridge. Sometimes that's all it is. But when I start thinking like that, then I start really piling it up because, wow, how much there is that you just, because it fades into the background, it becomes normal to you. And you don't think about it and think what a gift it is. And that at some point in your life, you probably didn't have those things. And there are other people who don't, and maybe never will have those things. And to come into that awareness and how much I feel like since I've done that, I really don't struggle anywhere close, even sometimes at all, with like a lack mentality. I feel like my cup is overflowing. I really do. And it's because I'm making it a point every day to focus on everything I have. And when I say everything, I mean like if there's a banana on my fruit bowl, I'm like, wow. Like I will find gratitude for that. And I know it sounds simple. But when you start thinking, that's my next request of you. But tonight, this weekend, is I want you to make a list for 100 things that you are grateful for or that you have now that you did not have. You will get to the end of that list and you'll be in tears. You really will. You'll walk outside and look up and say, I'm sorry I was ever ungrateful. I'm sorry I ever took this for granted because what I have is extraordinary. And somatic experiencing, this is something else that a mentor taught me years ago, and I've really had a lot of success with, which is that you're giving yourself a tactile or tangible experience of the things you say you are. So remember I was talking, earlier about confidence is not an affirmation in the mirror. It's a mountain of evidence that you are who you say you are. So somatic experiencing is you're giving yourself a physical, touchable, not mental experience, but like in the real world experience. So I think for some people, it's like going to test drive the car, or if someone has the car you want, you drive the car.
Mhm.
And it's not even about you imagining you're driving a car. It's about you actually being in the seat with your hand on the wheel. Do you feel that? You are doing it. This has opened doors for me faster than anything. Also, even so, if I don't know how many writers are in the room, but if you're bridging this gap between am I a writer, am I an artist, am I an author? And when you start showing up every day, even if all you can write is one sentence of the book, but part of your daily routine is I'm writing a book, over time, you're not going to struggle with that identity because it's self-evident to you. You're working on it every single day. If people say, are you an author? And you're like, well, I don't know. You're like, yeah, let me tell you about it because I'm working on it every day. So it's about the experience that you are having with you. And those are I have others, but those are the two biggest ways that I've grounded. And also my future self is it's very instructive. She give me a list. She's like, get rid of that jacket. It was a long list too. And I was taking notes in my head. She was like, you've never liked that jacket. Stop wearing it. And it was a crazy list too. Because I'm like, that's all you have to say to me?
What did you do with the jacket? Did you give the jacket away? Did you get rid of it?
So the next day, I listened. I was like, all right, gotta go. I did. If there's one thing about me, it's that I've listened to that future self. Trust. Significantly.
I love it. I'm going to give you guys some time to ask your burning questions for Brianna. Right before we do, I do want to just ask you, do you think that our future selves, we can have it all? I know sometimes people try to they put us in boxes, or maybe when we're imagining we're on the yacht and, we have our millions and our businesses are thriving and we have it all. Can we? What do you think?
I am living, breathing, walking, existing proof that a life beyond your wildest dreams is not only possible, it's probably 3 consistent steps ahead of you. It's not even just possible, it's actually probably in the room with you. It is right next to you. It is closer than you think. And yes, it's about the consistent action. Yes, it's about showing up, it's about building, but it's also here and here. And it's about that shift into the I am this, I am worthy, I am this person. And both kind of need to happen, because if they don't, I didn't even mean to do this. This is the last chapter of my book that comes out in October. You become
Is this exclusive?
Yeah, well, kind of.
Roll the camera.
You become a master gardener who does not know how to enjoy their own flowers. You are walking through a lush garden of your own abundance, and all you are thinking is that it is not enough. And if you think that if you don't do this work, you're like, well, when there is enough, I'll feel it. Happiness, contentment, joy, worth, they're not rewards we're given, they're practices. They're practices that we bring ourselves to every single day. They're muscles. Hope is a muscle. Confidence is a muscle. They're not things the world gives us when we think we've collected enough evidence. There's no amount of evidence collecting you can do to convince yourself of your own worth. That's something you are either connected to or you're not. And you have it no matter what is happening outside of you. But it's also the inner strength that's going to bring you into the next transit of your life. So the answer is an unequivocal, absolutely yes. And I think every single person in this room knows it, right?
Oh, or they will.
Do you know it? Do you know it?
Confidently.
That's not even, I don't like it yet. Do you know that a life beyond your wildest dreams is possible? Yes. Better. Still not as strong as I like, but better, yeah.
We'll get there. Crystal? Yes.
Hi, I'm Crystal Willis. My question is around how you developed writing practice maybe earlier in your career as an author. I've been struggling with self-sabotage and just kind of putting off working on my book. I'm sure it's a mindset thing, but I don't know if there's a practice you did initially to get yourself ready.
Yeah.
Great question.
So I had said before that I was a did different types of writing, but I was writing articles at the beginning of my career. And the gift that that gave me was that I had to kind of wake up and just start writing. I didn't have enough time to think myself out of it or get scared. But what that taught me is that I'm talking about, conditioning your mind, things being muscle. Creativity is also a muscle. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. And we often think that creativity is like a well, like it can run dry if we tap into it too much and too often. And the opposite is true. The more you do it, the easier it gets. So one is to just show up every day and just write anything. And I've taught students, I think in middle school, one of the exercises I do with them is to write a really bad short story, the worst one you can come up with. And then they laugh and they write ridiculous things. And they're cracking up and it's great. But what it's doing is it's getting you out of this pressure to be perfect. It's getting you out of this this tension of if I show up, it has to be right. No, it doesn't. And something else that I did with myself is I made an agreement with myself and a promise with myself, which is your writing time is always private, and I will always take a space and a gap between creating and writing and what I choose to share. And for me, that keeps the sanctity of it. You know what I mean? Which is I can express what I need to express here, even if it's not eloquent, even if it's messy. And I can decide later if I want to share it. Because I think the pressure, and especially, I think we feel this way about so many things, of the pressure of, well, everyone's going to read it, stops you from even writing in the first place. And then the last thing, especially if it's a book, I don't think writer's block exists in the way that we think it does. I think it's one of two things happening. You don't know what you're trying to say, or you're trying to say it in a way that's too far removed from the way you would naturally speak or think. So usually when I get stuck, I'm having one of those two problems. So I have to take a step back. And it's usually the first one, which is that I don't know what I'm trying to say. And what's gotten me through that is the way that I write books is I come up with a concept first, a big umbrella. So I kind of have a title or a thesis statement that's kind of the main thing. And then I just have my subpoints that support what I'm trying to express. And when I organize it like that, and I'm very clear on what I'm, what I want the takeaway to be, it kind of just flows. But anytime I need to go back and get clear on what is the takeaway, that's usually and to trust actually that you needing to take a pause is you saying, well, we have to rework a little bit, but it doesn't mean stop. It just means go back to the drawing board, regroup, keep going.
That's great. How many authors or aspiring authors do we have here?
Oh, that's so much more than I thought. Okay, good. All right, I'm happy that was useful. Well, I hope it was useful.
Well, where's our next question? Here we go. Hello. Flip the switch up. There you go.
Hello? Oh, yes, hello. As a future first-time author and New York bestseller,
Yes.
Okay. What are your recommendations in regards to publishing? Is it self-published or go through a publisher? Or especially, let's say, if you're on a budget and financially, okay, you don't have, to hire a publisher or someone to do your front cover, your book cover. So what can be some steps that can be helpful in regards to publishing the first book?
I think a lot of it depends on what the book is and what's going to be most supportive to you getting it into the stores, into the people that it needs to be with, because I think that that answer is really, really dependent on what the book is. What's right for a fiction book or a cookbook sometimes is or isn't different than a nonfiction book, but it's also how you want to set up your business in life. I have an independent publisher, and that's just what works best for me. It allowed me to keep the most creative control and also the most royalties. But if I were to do it all over again, it's controversial. I would self-publish. And that's all I would do, actually. And I noticed that as a big trend, actually, with a lot of people that I know and that I'm friends with in the industry. And again, it's not right for everyone. There are obviously amazing publishers, truly, who have amazing resources. And if that is right for you, good. But if you don't quite find that to be working for you, I think there are other routes. that allow you to kind of be the main cook in the kitchen doing your book. That was always really important to me, but I'm also nuts, so I don't know. Maybe but I think that a lot of people are starting to think of it less like, did a publisher pick me, as being kind of the winning moment, versus I've retained all of my copyright, all of my royalties, everything I sell is mine. So I've noticed that shift. So long story short, my answer is, I think it's unique to each person, and I think it's unique to each book. So it kind of just depends. But that's what I would do if I could do it again.
I'm glad you said that, because I think most people would think that you would promote a larger publisher, like, you know.
No, but
and that's always the glossy picture,
right? Yeah. But I also, if it's the right thing for you or anyone, like, then yes. Do it. But also, there are other avenues that I think can be even more supportive. Yeah, depending.
I like that.
I read The Mountain Dew a long time ago. My favorite quote, I have it actually pulled up because it's from the very first chapter, I think. But it's like, it does not serve us to use endless affirmations to placate our true feelings about where we are in our journey. That was revolutionary to me. I think that when we Google entrepreneurship, we see motivational quotes all over the place. And I think like a lot of the people who are online say that you should be telling yourself positive things about yourself, but sometimes we just need to be honest. How did you get to that conclusion? And was that a difficult thing for you to reach?
Great question. Yes, there's nothing that's in any of those 10, almost 11 books that wasn't a difficult thing to reach. So we can start there. But it came from this real distress I would feel when I was like really feeling unworthy and like telling myself again and again and again, I am worthy. It would almost create this inner conflict where I'm lying to myself, where I'm invalidating my own feelings about myself. And it would kind of lead to this like inner crisis where I'm like, well, I'm supposed to think this way. And deep down, some part of me knows this is true, but I'm overwhelmed with this feeling that I'm not. And so it kind of brought me into this journey of asking deeper questions, such as, what makes a person worthy? And I think this is for each of us to, deduce on our own. For me, it's just, I believe that purpose is inherent to life itself. If you are alive, you are on purpose and have worth, like, period. But then also like for love, like I felt unloved, and then I would try to tell myself, you are so loved, I didn't feel it. I would kind of unpack, what does that mean? And to me, I think you're worthy of love if you're willing to love. And that it's just a give and receive, but that there's no like tally up of, traits or attributes that makes one person more lovable than another. But we think that way. And I think it actually holds us back from the like overwhelmingly beautiful experience of being loved unconditionally that I do think wants to reach us. So for me, it was kind of taking things like a ladder, like one little step at a time. So instead of going from I feel unworthy to I feel worthy, we can start with I accept that I feel unworthy, even though it's not what I want to feel. I can accept that I feel unworthy, even though it really frustrates me to even have to accept this. I can accept that I sometimes feel unworthy, even though some part of me deep down kind of knows I am worthy, but I'll figure it out later. And then like incrementally kind of like work my way up, rather than trying to just come at it from the top down and I think override, these very real feelings and experiences you're having that are very valid and live in a world that wants to invalidate you at every turn. So it's like, it's very fair to feel. So I think like holding space for that too is I think it's a very empowering thing to do, of like, it's okay to feel this way. It makes sense. But we don't need to carry it. Yeah.
That's the last question.
Hi, my name is Imani, and I have a statement and a question. So about a year ago, I actually listened to your book, Not This You, an audiobook, and it got me through a really difficult time in my life. And right now I feel very fine, very content, very happy. So I like that point where you said that hold joy and all these emotions are muscle. You have to, exercise it. And then as well, if you don't, it kind of goes away in a sense. And I wanted to just ask, like, when you were feeling down, how did you come back to your center? Like maybe right now you're feeling super happy and overjoyed with happiness and everything. Then a year from now, or even a week from now, and those emotions are everywhere. But like, how do you come back to center when you do have those moments of like feeling down?
The first thing is that I just let myself feel it. And I think that this is a really important piece that's not fun, but I think is really important. Like if I'm just having a sad day, I just let myself be sad. And I think people think of healing as coming to the state where you're perfect and untouched by anything. And to me, it's actually being able to reclaim your full bandwidth of emotion and human experience. So you can grieve when it's time to grieve, and you can be angry when it's time to be angry. But then also you can feel happiness and joy and gratitude when it's time for those things too. So to me, it's more of like an accurate response. And also, though, because sometimes emotions aren't just responding to what's in the moment; they're historical too. They're culminative. We're responding to things that we haven't processed in our lives. And I think sometimes in those periods when we feel like an overwhelm, of not so great feelings, it's our body being ready to work through. This is very important. Sometimes when you feel safe and secure enough, that's when your body will like unleash those feelings, there's too many nods. You know what I'm talking about. That's when your body will unleash those feelings that you have been invisibly, unknowingly carrying with you this whole time. They've been there. They've been just unrealized. And you're at this place of greater stability, or you have this moment, and then you kind of just go through this. And it's important to process. I believe that emotions, even if we aren't conscious of the wisdom they're bringing us, I believe through the processing, they're giving us deeper wisdom. And if I need to cry, I just cry. And I remember years ago, some of the toughest years of my life. I'm thinking in particular one like horrible breakup, but I remember something really specific, which was I never cried about it. And I was like, that's funny. I've been laid flat over this for so long. I never cried. And I realized that was kind of like holding it in. And now when I'm upset, I really try to like make myself cry. Do you know what I mean? And make sure like, look, this is sad. Make sure you feel like you're having this emotion and it's okay to have that. And then also you're still in the driver's seat though. So it's like, if I'm sad today, I can still sit here and focus, and then I can go home and process later. Because I think that when you're overwhelmed and you don't kind of keep up with that mental emotional hygiene, something that happens is you stop getting a choice of when it's gonna, and then it starts really interfering. So whenever you have that time to like, this is my processing time, this is my therapy time, whatever it is, it's my rest time, to honor and validate who you are and what you've been through. And to know that there's a seed of wisdom and potential inside each of those experiences. But it's just a seed, and it's just potential. It doesn't necessarily have to become or will become strength and power. We choose to make it that. We can choose to make it that. We can choose to find the lesson. And I think it's really empowering if we do. One last thing I know. I feel like the Oscars music is about to start playing.
It's not me, it's Kendall.
I got it, I know. After I'm done with the processing part, the two things that I was talking about before, scripting, and I'm so grateful, and refocusing is a really, really big part of my life.
Well, I just want to thank you for being here, for coming to Dallas and imparting beautiful words of wisdom, helping us to align with our future selves. Is there anything else you want to say as we wrap?
Yes, actually. Do I have 1 minute? Oh, we got a thumbs up.
I'm not fired yet, so.
Okay, just a nod or show of hands. Does anyone feel like they're struggling with a fear of what other people think? Is that like holding you back in life? You're scared? Okay. this was just coming up recently, and I can't stop thinking about it because I was just writing about it, and I was like, I need to talk to someone about it. So I picked you guys. When you are afraid of putting yourself out there or trying again, showing up, taking chances, building something because you're afraid of what other people will think, what you're really afraid of is that one day you're giving other people the power to define you more than you define you. But what's actually happening in this moment is that you're giving them the power right now, because what you are defined by is not what other people think or say, it's what you do. And so if you are being influenced by your fear of what someone else may think or may say, and that's influencing what you choose to do or not to do, then they're already doing what you're afraid of. They're already influencing those outcomes of your life. And that, I really think the breakthrough moment, and I didn't even realize I had it, but someone was talking to me about it, and I was like, oh, I realized that my life would only be defined by what I did and how I showed up and who I decided to be. And that was the end of the sentence. And that was the beginning of the end. That was the breakthrough moment that I didn't even know. Honestly, didn't even know that I was having. So that's what I hope you take home. Well, there was a lot. Actually, I gave you like 5 assignments. At least 2 assignments. So it's not the only thing to take home. But the other thing is that, you decide who you are. You decide what your life is about. You decide what your legacy is. And do not, by the virtue of your own thoughts, let that be taken away from you by fear, by anyone else. Okay? Okay.
And I want to impart you all, before we go out to this amazing happy hour and supporting all of our women founders here in DFW, please support, buy their stuff. I do want to impart final words of wisdom for each and every one of you. So if you don't mind this one last time, just closing your eyes, I just want to impart from your book, The Pivot Year. And I just want you all to just receive the words and the wisdom. And as Brianna said before, just allowing yourself to just encapsulate the feeling. I read these all the time in my meditation classes, and my students love it. But just as we leave, just knowing that you are the peace between the highs and the lows. You're the peace between the sky that rests forever behind whatever storms may form and release themselves in time. You'll always return to what you really are. You will always come back to your truth. If there's anything greater than happiness, it is coming to this realization and living with this knowledge. You are all that is steady and safe within you. And let the church say amen. Thank you, Brianna, for being here.
Thank you all.
And thank you, Dallas DFW Startup Week.
And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode, this bonus episode of PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. Brianna is just pure magic. I know that this was a longer episode than normal, but as I stated before, it is very near and it is very dear to my heart. I can't describe the extra feeling that you get when you're reading through her book and you are like in your deepest, darkest pit, or you're just going through it. And to have someone massage the heart with words is truly a gift. And she was genuine when she was like, really? You mean that? Thank you, Leah. I'm like, no. To be able to speak to someone through literature is incredible. And she's definitely got a gift. Before we go, I do have a funny story for you guys. One day I was at the meditation studio that I teach at, and someone walked in, this lady, she was very frantic. But she was also very high society because she had on fabulous outfit and very expensive designer purse. So she walks in and she's looking around the retail at the front of the studio, and she's just like, hey, I'm looking for something. And we're like, well, what can we help you with? And she's like, I'm looking for something, and maybe you guys can help me. I'm looking for something that can help somebody where it's like, I'm not the problem, you're the problem. It's not me, it's you. And me and the other girl behind the counter looked at each other and we were like, The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. And she bought the book to give to this person who clearly didn't realize that they were the mountain and they were the problems. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm actually going to link a lot of my favorite Brianna Wiest books in the show notes if you want to check them out. So there'll be a link for The Pivot Year, one for The Mountain Is You, which is the most popular, The Life That's Waiting, and some of the others. So go ahead and check that out, and hope you enjoyed this. You know what to do. Like, comment, share, rate this episode if you can, and keep it locked in. We've got a lot of fun things happening on the PR front, a lot of great interviews. Like I said, I am doing my best to drop these weekly. So you guys are keeping me busy and keeping me at work, but you know what to do. Like, comment, share, rate, review. If you want another episode, or you have an episode idea, blah, blah, blah. I'm like all tongue-tied. Episode idea, reach out to me, PR Yourself Podcast on Instagram, and we'll see what we can do. Hit me up on LinkedIn or send me a DM on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to hear your suggestions so that we can make sure that you are getting exactly what you need out of this podcast. But you know what to do. You're going to keep it locked in. And until next week, we'll see you then. And until next time.